The purpose of this video is to troubleshoot calculation errors for final grades. We will be going over some basic errors that cause miscalculations. Errors can occur in several ways. When you know what you are looking for, it is easy to correct the mistakes. Recall from the previous video that we can compare the categories to the standards when they are both in percentages. As I look at my literature category, I can see that it is not calculating accurately. If you determine that only one category has an error, you can usually find the cause quickly. To troubleshoot errors within one category, it is convenient to view only the assignments within that category. If we view all of the assignments within all of the categories, it is difficult to find the errors. To change to view only the assignments within that category, choose Filter Selected, and then the category you would like. The first and easiest remedy is when we have an assignment that is not connected to the standard. This is fixed by connecting the assignment to the correct standard. Another quick fix is when the assignment is connected to the standard, and yet it is not calculating towards the standard score. You just check this box to fix that error. Now that I've fixed these two errors, I can expand the standard and see that the assignments are calculating correctly. Now, my standard score and my category score are accurate for every student. Another error that can affect only one standard is when I connect two standards to one assignment. As you can see in the informational text standard, my category and standard are calculating equally. However, when I go to my foundational skills category, the standard is calculating higher than the category. This is a double standard problem. If I look at the assignments within my informational text category, I will find that this assignment is connected to two standards. This assignment should only be connected to informational text, but I've accidentally clicked the reading foundational skills tab. By deselecting the extra standard, this standard will still be calculating accurately. However, now I have fixed the foundational skills problem. A more difficult problem to determine is when I have two categories that are calculating incorrectly. Here I have the writing is calculating at 94, whereas the standard says 98. My speaking and listening says 94, and here it says 95. If I glance down the columns, I will see that my writing is off for my standard from my category for all of my students. The same is the case for my speaking and listening category. From this, I can infer that there is a problem with the standard to one assignment. If I look at my assignments and filter them based off of writing, I can expand all of these categories to make sure that they are connecting to the writing standard. Here, I can see that this assignment is actually connected to the wrong standard. This should be a writing standard, and yet I have connected it to speaking and listening. By saving this under the appropriate standard, I can go back and see the final grades. Now my writing scores for my final grades are correct. Let's see if that fixed my speaking and listening. This has corrected the problem. So the error was that I had a writing assignment that was connected to a speaking and listening standard, which caused a miscalculation in both categories. Now I can minimize these standards because I will no longer need to see how they're calculating. Let's take a look at our grades. Now that these are aligning, let's look at the grammar. Under my language category, I see that for the most part, the scores are calculating accurately. However, when I come to my first student, there's a problem. Usually, if there's a problem with only one student, it's because I've entered a score in after entering all of the rest. This can cause a calculation error. I'm going to click on the standard to expand it and check for the scores. As you can see here, this student later took a test and should have gotten a 50%. This child should have had an 80, but they weren't calculating correctly. This usually occurs because we enter the assignment after the date of entering in the majority of the assignments, and the system just doesn't catch that it needs to go back and recalculate it. It's usually caused by makeup work or changing a score after the date. Let's see if they are calculating correctly now. This looks a lot better. Let's take a look at my daily work. When checking for errors, you might find that it's easiest to expand the standard. This way, you can check to see that the assignment and the standard are in agreement. You can also check to see that the standard is calculating the correct percentage for that score. If all else fails and you cannot get the percentage to calculate correctly, you can overwrite the score within the standard column by clicking on it and typing in the appropriate percentage. Be careful. I would highly recommend going back to trimester 1 and 2 and doing this for all grades that are not calculated correctly, but I would definitely steer clear of this option if possible during a trimester, because the score will set to the one that you type in and prevent adjustments as assignments are added in. Although this option is available, it is not recommended as it does override the calculations for the system as you move forward. For this reason, it is an acceptable alternative for trimester 1 and 2 because they are finalized. If you go back and overwrite the percentage, it will not cause errors within that trimester. For this semester, if you try to overwrite the score for midterm, you'll need to continue checking it weekly to update it so that the parents are not confused, as well as you do not want the inaccurate score to print on the report card. This should take care of any calculation errors you have with your report cards.